Let's explore how to build a Tibetan-style altar in 2024. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. They wrote, "How do I begin practicing offerings through my altar, remembering Zen practices of mindfully respecting my face, i.e. keeping it clean, with the target in mind to have a Tibetan practice?" Well, it's very nice that this person knows specifically what they want. Let's see if I can't be helpful. The person wrote, "I have a very basic altar at the moment. Owing to the fact that I am in a care home, which performs under a Christian ethos," which is definitely dicey, "and they haven't been completely anti the practices associated with my altar, stand, table, etc. But I'm not able to have pujas as such. As people aren't allowed technically in and out of other people's rooms. To paint, throw a T in there, to paint the picture, I got a beautiful construction to place my Buddhas and my offering bowls online, with thanks to a man called Ray. Who is spiritual, traveled, and interested in Indian and Buddhist religion and philosophy, the gods, deities, and also a little into numerology, which I am cautious about. It's made of cherry wood and stands on the most westerly direction. On the windowsill in my small cluttered room. I have a small water bowl at the moment, but I'm aware I shall need auspicious offering bowls eventually. I have a tiny Shakyamuni Buddha, which stands about 3 centimeters from top to bottom. I've ordered a larger Buddha in the post. I have a vase with a handheld Tibetan prayer wheel, and I'm expecting 2 more small bags of crystal calcite to arrive in the post, so I can sink the handle into it so it points upwards, as is the done thing. I feel like I need to set it up properly, but I also feel I'm rushing. Any pointers? Why, yes. Yes, I do. We shall begin with broad brushstrokes. Many decades ago, I followed the Dalai Lama's instructions to set up an altar with representations of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. Before which I placed 8 vessels for holding water, which I acquired at a bric-a-brac shop for like $1. Once I received my first highest yoga tantra empowerment, I began offering more and more auspicious or elaborate offerings. Imagine my surprise when a very special book crossed my path. The Heart Treasure of the Enlightened Ones, which contained both a commentary written by Dilgo Khyentse and a root text written by the great Tibetan saint Za Paltrul Rinpoche. The text was lauded by the Dalai Lama, giving it the highest praise I've ever seen him offer any book. As a very young man, Zalpatrul Rinpoche wrote a very fundamentalist text, very, very rigid and uptight and fearful. At the very end of his life, he wrote this text, which was flexible and loving and laid back. I'd like to draw your attention to the 34th quatrain. Offer the torma, that's a grain offering, offer the torma of whatever arises to the guests of immediate liberation. Mold the clay of whatever appears into the tsatsa of void appearance. Offer the prostration of non-duality to the Lord of mind nature. Consummating these dharma activities, recite the six-syllable mantra. What this passage is saying is that the ultimate offering is to practice mindfulness and meditation. But how does that work? So let's explore this right now. Sadly, what's it called? Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun, tingly way. So it should not surprise you that most meditation instruction is deplorable. Most meditation instruction consists of telling people to practice active concentration and active analysis. The problem with such advice is that from the perspective of neuroscience, the only way to do those two things is to rely upon certain areas of our brain, certain structures, such as the medial prefrontal cortex or the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Now, this prefrontal cortex is a wonderful tool. If you got to count, if you got to look for a pattern, if you got to analyze, if you got to do some math, then the prefrontal cortex is your boy. That guy's going to help you out. However, if you use it for that which it has not evolved to do, if you use it in an attempt to wrangle the kitty cats of our emotions, it's going to be like trying to teach a pig to sing. It's going to waste your time, annoy the pig. Clinically, it will cause, according to fMRI studies, it will cause your amygdala to light up, the seat of aggression and anxiety. And if we persist in misusing our prefrontal cortex and we exhaust it, we will present with the symptoms of depression. Nobody wants that. But did you know there's a different part of the brain we use to practice mindfulness and meditation. It's known as the autonomic nervous system, and it has two facets. Let's begin with mindfulness, which is the seventh fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the center third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Let that sink in. We're actually wired in mindfulness not to plug into the part of us which is prone to being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Au contraire, we're wired to plug into the part of our brain that has evolved to be flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. So there we are. We are inhaling and we are perceiving all sorts of stuff. We are perceiving sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We are perceiving emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. And that's a lot of stuff to notice spontaneously and randomly. It might even be overwhelming. This brings us to our exhalation, where we get to practice the eighth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, meditation. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are already wired to effortlessly and automatically access our parasympathetic nervous system, located within the bottom third and the upper third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. So what I wish I would have said a few moments ago is this. This vulnerability, which is the key to mindfulness, is represented figuratively by the nudity of the all good ones in tantric union. So we have evolved as a species to think symbolically. So let's look at this figuratively. Every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less solid, could feel less permanent, could feel less defining. Now let's add some figurative language into that explanation. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Any good English teacher will tell you that a simile is only as effective as it is relatable. Therefore, we must ask, what is a real-world example of that which is a non-graspable, vast, empty void? And the example is very, very easy. How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although is tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand? This is why Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karma Mudra are depicted as translucent and as non-graspable as a rainbow. Offer the dharma of whatever arises to the guests of immediate liberation. What could arise? Sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. What else could arise? Emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Well, what kind could arise? Those that pertain to the external or the internal, the physical or the mental, the pleasurable or the painful, the interesting or the boring, the glorious or the grotesque. So the full spectrum of experience perceived with complete vulnerability and randomness. So how do we offer this? By relaxing into our exhalation. We will so let's explore this right now. Let's come back to this. Let's stick a pin in this and get back to this. Since I teach out of the front room in the apartment where I stay, I've set up a token altar. It's very simple, just a piece of furniture, and there's a statue of Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karamamudra. There is a box full of matches. There is a tea light, and there's an empty box that I put the spent matches in. This is purely ornamental. This plant is purely ornamental. On the far wall is a tonka, purely ornamental. So let's go back over here. If you were to ask the Dalai Lama what the meaning of life is, the technical answer would be: we collect the two we perform the two collections for the two purposes. A more elaborate version would be: we complete the two collections of wisdom and merit on behalf of ourselves and others. According to this passage, the most efficient way to perform our merit is to be vulnerable during our inhalation. And the way we collect our wisdom is by relaxing in harmony with our exhalation. So you'll notice that this concludes with the, I want to use the right word, admonition, that we consummate these dharma activities simply by reciting the 6-syllable mantra. So I think it could be great fun if together as a team we chanted this right now 3 times. Well, actually, I guess before we do that, it would be lovely if we spent 30 seconds on housekeeping, because that's how YouTube works. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School for more than 30 years. I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Now, okay, here we go. Together, let's chant. Offer the Dharma of it. Oopsie, you know what? This is a little tough to see on the screen with my big old face there, so let's see if I can't fix this. And go like that. Okay. Now it's face-proof. Offer the Dharma of whatever arises to the guests of immediate liberation. Mold the clay of whatever arises into the tsatsa of void appearance. So tsatsa is a statue you would make just by putting plaster in a mold. It's not for artists, it's for people trying to earn good karma. Let's continue. Offer the prostration of non-duality to the Lord of my nature. So prostration just means bowing. I like bowing because it's a good exercise. When you sit for 75 minutes at a stretch, afterwards, it's nice to do something athletic. So the Lord of mind nature, in other words, what's the nature of mind? We experience that the nature of mind is that which we experience as we relax into our exhalation. That which we noticed during our previous inhalation feels less graspable. It's just that simple. Let's continue. Consummating these dharma activities, recite the 6-syllable mantra 2 more times. Offer the dharma of whatever arises to the guests of immediate liberation. Mold the clay of whatever appears into the tsatsa of void appearance. Offer the prostration of non-duality to the Lord of my nature. Consummating these dharma activities, recite the 6-syllable mantra 1 more time. Offer the dharma of whatever arises to the guests of immediate liberation. Mold the clay of whatever appears unto the tsatsa of void appearance. Offer the prostration of non-duality to the Lord of my nature. Consummating these dharma activities, recite the six syllable mantra. So let me make sure this fits on the screen. Yeah, almost. Almost. Let's do this and hit this button, see if that works. Cowabunga. Okay, so during our inhalation, we're going to silently and mentally recite, relaxing into this. But what's this? This is whatever we notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. The only label we need ever use for mindfulness is nothing other than the demonstrative pronoun this. During our exhalation, we're going to do two things. First, we're going to physically relax as best we can. Second, while doing our best to chant this six-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. And of course, if this is your first time hanging out with me, then by all means, give yourself permission to have a learning curve. I can promise you that if you mispronounce this, the floor is not going to open up and swallow you like a great Venus flytrap. That seldom happens. So we can I would like to do this for, let's see, 16, 32, 64 breaths. Let's see if that's possible. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. I feel like I'm counting wrong. Give me a second here. This is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. 16 times 4 is 64. 64 times 2 is 128. So instead, let's do this for 8 breaths. That should do it. So that'll be 8, 16, 32, and that'll be, so 32 times 2 is 64, 64 times 2 is 128. Okay, so that'll be a total of 16 breaths. Let's do it for 15 more breaths. And by the way, thank you for your patience. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. 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 Let us start our second quarter. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Although we're only halfway done, allow me to remind you of something. It is said that Albert Einstein once quipped that any educated idiot can make things more complicated, more difficult, more violent. But it takes a lot of courage and a little bit of genius to move in the opposite direction. Fundamentalists delight in making it more scary and more difficult for their students. It's one of the weird things about psychology. Typically, it's one of the reasons why so many shitty teachers have so many students. There's a certain type of people who just like being oppressed. It's the damnedest thing. It's a consistently observable psychological phenomena. However, although the Buddha's foolish cousin Devadatta thought it would be a splendid idea to be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, the Buddha's path is to be flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. So a good teacher wants to make the path as easy as possible. Perhaps that is why the Buddha himself said that it's possible to master his path in less than 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 fortnights, or 7 weeks, or even 7 days. The path was supposed to be easy and pleasurable. Perhaps that is why the fourth enlightenment factor is joy. Let's continue with our third quarter. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, om mani mimi yung. Let's talk about desire. Let's say you're filled with the desire to cheat on your partner and blow up your marriage. Let's say you're filled with the desire to rob from your boss and maybe go to jail. Let's say you are filled with the violent impulse to beat someone up. During your inhalation, sit with that experience. During your exhalation, relax. Physically relax into the verbal recitation of this mantra. And you will find that it is impossible to act in that moment on that craving or that hate. Let us now begin our fourth quarter of this practice. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Congratulations, you've just knocked out 128 repetitions of the 6-syllable mantra. And now let us rest. As we inhale, let us kick back and watch as our mind experiences the zoomies of perception, emotion, intention, thought, memory, and imagination. As all the while we could be silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this. During our exhalation, as we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease, we can relax into the non-graspable nature of all that we perceived during our previous inhalation. But to seal this morning's practice by chanting loving wishes, or percussively chanting loving wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void now be as peacefully enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-syllable bija. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void now be as joyfully loving as a Buddha's speech symbolized by mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void now be as beautifully healthy as a Yidam archetype depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing and void now be as safely fortunate as a pure land of law depicted in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.